into a brand new wave, drowning out the noise that's tame. Liberty whispers through the brave, breaking free from every chain. Nullify the rules they crave, crypto beats that pave the way. Anarchy with minds that's safe, algorithms new dawn today. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride. Beyond control we take a stand, casting off the iron brand. Freedom flowing through our hands, revolution's our command. Decentralize the way we plan, all together we expand. Breaking shackles for the clan, in this journey we're unpanned. Out of bounds and out of sight, building futures pure and bright. Escape the grip and win the fight. Welcome into the legacy ride.
I am the legacy of Jennifer Kaiser. Welcome to the first standalone episode of Crypto Wednesday, no longer under the auspices of news. News is such a scary, disgusting word, by the way. And thus, this is all crypto. This is all crypto talk. Doesn't matter. Crypto news. Crypto Wednesday. Welcome to the Legacy Rights Crypto Wednesday. Every Monday, Legacy News. Every Wednesday, Crypto Wednesday. And every Friday, fun times on it every Friday. With that, everybody, go ahead and get yourself one of these bad boys. Start your day right with a cup of coffee and Lysander Spooner's green face. And support the Legacy Ride. If you support the Legacy Ride, support us. You know you want a coffee mug. Salute, retweet, repost, share, subscribe, follow us on Rumble. And with that, let's get straight to the show.
Hey, Zach,
Welcome.
what's going on?
Not much, man. Did it glitch on your screen?
Just a little.
I think it glitched on mine. Did it finish the
Maybe
countdown?
I glitched.
Maybe
It did.
you glitched. I don't know. It did finish the countdown? Well, that's good. Everybody got to see the countdown. My side, technical difficulties, I guess. Satan has entered the circuitry of the technology because Elon Musk is a Satanist. I said it.
That's what they say.
That is what I said. That's actually getting a little out there, actually. There are a lot of Catholics out there that actually believe that computer viruses are satanic.
Really?
Yeah.
had an aunt, no, I'm sorry, grandma, who used to be very afraid of computers. She said they were the devil.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Aunt Andrew. The computer is not the devil. A computer virus doesn't come from Satan. Uh, but there are very bad people out there, like your government and DARPA, that want to control and manipulate. So yes, certain algorithms, certain codes, certain architects of the circuitry of the computer in the cyber world want to capture all your information. So there are
Well,
some bad people
cheap
out
and
there.
easy
There
to
are
make
some bad
money.
actors. Yeah, there are some bad actors. Could those individuals be falling under the auspices of the temptation of the devil? Sure, but computers, man, y'all motherfucking stupid. I'm referring to you, St. Nicholas, in Summit, Indiana. They literally had a sign that said, Please pray for our computers. Satan has taken them." It's
That's
like,
funny.
y'all motherfuckers making Catholics look bad and irrational. And what did Jesus preach? Have a fucking logical, rational mind, everybody. That's how you have faith. Be rational. Think. Use your brain. All right? The devil is not taking a hold of your computer.
I thought he said take the wheel. Give him one more chance.
Mm-hmm. I will say what the devil is taking over is greedy, power hungry, corrupted individuals in government that want to incentivize their own wealth over those that they perceive they are in control of. Now
Yeah.
that's the devil working, such as the Genius Act, Patriot Act 3.0, everybody. Go read the bill. Oh, that's right. MAGA isn't going to read no bill.
That's what the Democrats are for.
Yeah, that's what the Democrats are actually reading the bill. I don't think they're reading the bill. I think they're just so anti-Trump that they're against the Genius Act. But
Sign
they
the
have no clue what
grandstands,
it.
ladies
Yeah,
and gentlemen.
it's just grandstanding. Exactly. They call Thomas Massey a grandstander, but he's actually read the bill. So I mean, of course, I mean, and it wasn't just him. I mean, how many Republicans voted against that bill? I think like 7, 6, and then all of
Not
the
enough.
Democrats, of course. Not enough, obviously, not enough. But I mean, the simple fact of the matter is the Democrats they voted against based on partisan politics. So they have no clue what this bill is about. If it was on the flip side, and it was say Joe Biden trying to pass this genius bill, then the Republicans would have done the same thing. They would have attempted to grandstand the Democrats, and the Democrats would have voted for this bill. So there
See,
you go.
very
That's
few stand
politics.
alone against the power.
Unless
That's
you're
why this
Thomas
episode's
Massey.
titled "Stands Alone."
So what did we think about crypto? Does it stand alone against it all, or is it being co-opted?
Well, I suppose it all depends on what your time preference is. Today's episode actually is going to go back about a year and a month. And Anthony Pompliano, who we've never covered on this channel before, but he's a big crypto influencer for Bitcoin. Uh, I think he's going to have an interesting point of view, yeah, about the Trump administration and what interest rates are going to look like. And check out Cake Wallet.
Yeah, I would download that Cake Wallet. There's a couple others for your self custody. Get off the main exchanges. Get yourself a cold wallet as well, because the cold wallet acts like your bank. Let's just put it that way. The cold wallet is the bank. The Cake Wallet is the means for you to actually, use the crypto and exchange it. Coinbase, as you saw on there, is if you want to pay for in fiat, pay for large quantities of crypto so you can move it over. So become your own fucking bank. I've actually recently I've been trying to move most of my crypto assets from Coinbase over to Cake Wallet to start using it more. So
Yeah.
I'm
Hard Gang
I'm
2
actually
back into crypto.
Mhm.
That's an
I'm
older
act-
song,
uh,
but it's pretty funny.
So we might drop in the. I mean, if you want to support us, everybody, we don't like fiat. So our Bitcoin Cash addresses will be down in the description if you want to support this podcast. Let us keep bringing these messages out. Let us keep on expanding and building this thing. Let us build a legacy. But we want to do it with crypto. So our main addresses will be down in the description if you'd like to help support us financially in spreading this message. So that's enough plugging, Andrew. Go on.
Help a podcaster out, brother.
Go forth, bald head.
Okay. See you.
He had to go see if those bears were hungry.
Are you ready?
Let's see what Anthony has to say about Bitcoin, Trump, and interest rates.
Oh yeah.
I have a feeling the interest rates scenario is going to have something to do with Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve and why they're coming after him at this point. By all means, I agree, but they should come after him. But they're making theatrics over this renovation deal, when in reality, there's more to look at the Fed for.
Right.
But really, it has a lot more to do with Trump wants Powell to lower interest rates down to next to nothing, and Powell understands. I will actually defend Powell on this. He understands. Well, if I do that, we're fucked.
He's a Wall Street bro. He's not a intellectual type. He's a Wall Street bro. There's a difference in the way that the banking system works. It's two different schools.
Who, Trump or Powell is a Wall Street bro?
I'm talking about Powell.
Powell, yeah. But I will defend him on that one because we are.
Right.
You got to be gradual. You would literally have
Yeah.
to. They keep on spending more money.
Gradient.
Gradient.
Well,
Mhm.
are you ready? Let's go ahead
Let's
and
roll.
jump on in here.
Engage.
What's up, guys? Bang, bang. Today's episode is a little bit unique. I have Phil Rosen, the co-founder of Opening Bell News. He is here today, and what he is going to do is interview me. That's right. I'm in the hot seat. He's going to ask me a bunch of questions about Bitcoin, President Trump's recent support of the industry, interest rates, and the financial media. I did my best to cram a ton of information and insights into about a 20-minute interview. We're going to try out this format. If you like it, please let us know in the comments. We'll do more of them. Maybe we'll try to do one a week where Phil interviews me. Only though if you guys like it. So make sure that you leave that comment, make sure that you engage with the video or the audio so that we know that we should continue doing this. All right, here is my conversation, or where Phil is interviewing me today.
Bomp, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
It's an honor to be here, and I'm excited to hear about your views on interest rates, Trump, and Bitcoin, as always.
Of course, I'm excited for you to do this and also everyone to meet you.
Yeah, let's do it. So I read your newsletter this morning, and you were writing about Trump's new position on Bitcoin. He's quite supportive of it. And can you explain a bit more about how you think that could impact the regulatory outlook for, even if Trump or Biden wins, they both seem optimistic. Can you talk about what that means for the regulatory landscape?
Yeah, if you think leadership matters, right? And so in every organization, both government and in the private sector, the leader sets the tone, the leader sets the, kind of positions, the leader sets in motion what everyone else is going to do. And so currently, President Biden and the administration, they've been very anti-crypto. They've been very anti-Bitcoin, anti-mining, just go down the line. And so what happens is everyone in the government apparatus is anti-Bitcoin, anti-crypto, anti-mining.
What if there was a way to know if a stock will be bullish or bearish the day before? The truth is that
with Trump, he was anti-Bitcoin. He has many tweets that he's put out there. Many times he said, hey, I actually don't like this. I'm very pro-America. That was his big stance, was Bitcoin is competitive with the US dollar. I do not want this happening. What I think has happened is people have started to educate him. I know that his sons have started to become more sympathetic to Bitcoin. They started to understand it better across government, financial institutions, private sector, et cetera. A lot of people that I know that are wealthy or successful, their kids are the ones who kind of explained to them what Bitcoin is or what crypto was and why it was important. So I think that's a natural progression for Trump to go through. On one hand, there's people who now are saying, wait a minute, this guy was against it. Now he's saying he's for it. Is he pandering? Is he just going to and trying to get votes? There could be an element of that, right? I don't think he's stupid. I think he's hearing what people are saying. And he said, hey, you guys want me to be pro Bitcoin? You're going to vote for me? I'm pro Bitcoin, right? At the same time, I think he's just getting educated. He's learning about this stuff. And I know many, many people, we could rattle off a whole plethora of folks from inside the industry that have gone and met with him, had dinner, been to different events with him, and really spent the time to educate him on this stuff. And so this is kind of like what Bitcoiners or kind of the crypto communities we talked about for a long time, right? Is the game theory is that they're going to have to support it. And so critics have always cracked me up. They're like, I'm smart. Here's my academic theory as to why the government is going to ban Bitcoin. And you're like, dude, you live on a different planet. What are you talking about? Right. And the reason why the government has to support it is the same reason why the individual supports it, which is Bitcoin solves a real problem. Crypto solves a real problem. I'll give you a couple examples. If I want to protect the economic purchasing power of myself as an individual, Bitcoin does that better than any other asset in the world. If I bought gold 5 years ago before the pandemic and I held till today, I've lost purchasing power. Gold has not kept up with the decline of the US dollar. Bitcoin is the only asset that I'm aware of that is an asset class to itself, which has outperformed inflation. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it solved the problem for the individual around protecting purchasing power. If you go to more of a system approach, Bitcoin mining is solving a ton of energy problems in America. People are like, what are you talking about? I heard that this consumes a lot of energy. Well, one, Bitcoin mining is over 50%, close to 60% of all energy consumed with Bitcoin mining is renewable energy. So what you get there is Bitcoin mining is probably the furthest penetration of renewable energy usage out of any industry in America. And so if that is the case, then actually we should be putting that industry on a pedestal, saying like, why is the rest of the American economy only 20% renewable? Why is it not 60? Right? Bitcoin mining is leading from the front in terms of that energy mix. And then you look at things like stranded gas. So gas flaring being a great example. If we are going to pollute the environment and flare gas, and we're going to burn a hole in the atmosphere, well, what if we could stop doing that? That'd probably be a pretty powerful thing. And that's exactly what Bitcoin miners are doing. So going and they're stopping gas flaring, they're capturing that energy, they're mining on site. And so you solve that problem. And then you look and say, okay, well, that's Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining. What about stablecoins? Stablecoins now collectively are the 16th largest holder of US treasuries globally. Well, at a time where China and Japan are not buying as many treasuries as they used to be 22% of all global debt. Now it's down to 7%. Here come the stablecoin issuers. They're saying, we're going to buy debt. And so if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin mining, crypto, et cetera, like we are solving real problems here. And so what I wrote in the letter was I said, look, it seems like technology has been solving real problems and critics have been crying, right? They're having this war of words.
About that.
Sure.
Let's talk about that. What are your thoughts on the stablecoin industry being the collector of the debt, just like the Federal Reserve?
What's it called? Tether, they're not exactly transparent with their assets. They say that they're backing their currencies with Bitcoin. I mean, what's the difference if you can't have transparency? You can say Bitcoin, but that's just
how do we know?
A false narrative. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
how do we know?
This is just pumping up a bigger interest rate bubble, and it's keep adding more and more air to the entire ecosystem, not just in crypto, but in all markets. So they may be buying treasury notes, but I mean, if it's a house of cards, it's still a house of cards. It doesn't matter. It's just going to hurt more people.
And it's no different from what under the auspice of the Federal Reserve, in the Federal Reserve buying treasury notes and issuing new monies off of that debt, causing more interest to have to be paid out. you have more inflation. So you're inflating the money supply regardless, whether it's Tether or whether it's the Federal Reserve. You're literally just issuing new money circulated into the money supply. I mean, you're going to have the same issue. So could stable coins effectively have a positive impact? If done right, sure. But in the aspect of what they're utilizing the stable coin apparatus right now, they're just, it's basically it's the same coin. It's a different side of the same coin. Instead of heads, now we flipped it to tails. Instead of the Federal Reserve, we're going to use Tether.
It's like a six-sided die. It still serves the same function. It just lands in a different direction.
Mm-hmm. You're gambling.
So,
you're playing.
I mean,
Yahtzee.
in a way, this is basically just another form of accelerationism.
Wait, Trump's an accelerationist?
I mean, I could see it as an argument. I'm not saying that it's 100%, but it's definitely, the actions speak that way and that move in that direction.
Damn. So Trump's a collapsitarian and cap, huh?
Welcome to Encapsitan.
Oh, let's go. Let's move forward.
All right.
But technologists are having a war of action. And by solving problems, you're on the right side of history and you end up actually winning. And so naturally, politicians realize, wait a second, I'm not going to be the anti-progress candidate. I'm not going to be the anti-success candidate. And by Trump making that move, now all of a sudden Biden, he's backed in a corner. What do? Are you really going to cede the Bitcoin and crypto point to Trump? Are you going to let him take 50 million voters out from underneath you because they all are going to vote with their wallets?
Whenever a politician,
is it a digital wallet or is it a hardware wallet? Sorry.
Depends on what you want to choose, I guess. Hopefully a hardware wallet. Be your own bank, everybody. I will say, anytime a politician talks about progress and wants to be on the side of progress, probably not a good thing, because we're still in the ass end of what is known as the age of progress. Progressivism is not progress, everybody.
It's regressive.
Yeah.
No, you're going to become more sympathetic to it. And so regardless of whether you believe either one of them, everyone is moving to become more pro-crypto and pro-Bitcoin. And that is very good tailwind for the whole industry.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
So something I was thinking about when I was reading your letter this morning, presidents on the campaign trail make promises all the time, and they say a lot of things that don't end up being true. So in that sense, as far as what Trump is saying now about being super pro Bitcoin, what if he doesn't follow through on all of that? Is there a worst case scenario you see for crypto as an asset class, but also Bitcoin specifically?
Yeah, there's probably three different outcomes, right? There's like, okay, they say that they're supporting it. They get in office, they do support it. They go and they, deregulate some of the industry. They go ahead and make a bunch of actions that are very pro crypto. It's a boom for the industry, and we're off to the races. That'd be great, but maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. The other example would be that they come out and they say, hey, we're going to support this thing going into the election. They get elected, whoever it is, and then they do nothing. Again, promises not kept. That's like basically the name of the game for most politicians. So it's probably not a divergence from the norm, but they're not really doing harm as much as like they had an opportunity to do something positive and they didn't do it. The third, which is probably the most unlikely, is to come out in support of the assets end of the industry, get in office, and then 180 and then go attack the industry. There's very few examples in history of politicians going in, promising one thing, and then basically turning their back on that industry and going and hurting that industry intentionally. Of course, there's always unintentional consequences, and all the caveats. But my guess is we get one of the first two. regardless of whether it's Trump or Biden, is either they're kind of like agnostic to it, like, whatever, I got some votes for it, but like, I'm not really going to do anything, or they end up being supportive. It is very hard today to see a world where either one of the political candidates would end up being anti-crypto, because you have now other politicians in Congress and Senate that hold the assets. You now have people around them in their staff that holds these assets. And it's such a big voter base that you really got to kind of pay attention and make sure that you're not upsetting those people.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So something I've been wanting to ask you about for a while now is your view on interest rates, because that is the hottest topic in financial markets. We started the year with about 6 rates forecasted for markets, and now it's down to about 1 or 2. Where do you fall on that? And also, how has that impacted your view on how you're allocating investments and what you're considering? And also, are these conversations you're having with other investors changing because of the interest rate landscape?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say there's 2 main points here. One, it is arrogant for the central bank to believe that they can set an interest rate. And when I say that, people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, the market is the true setter of interest rates, right? What is the cost of capital? The market determines that. When somebody outside of the market, in terms of the market force, an individual or an organization steps and says, no, we are going to set an artificial price of capital, cost of capital. That is an arrogant view. This, you are saying that you are smarter than the market. I just don't believe that's possible. So at the outset, setting the interest rate, I think, is a fool's errand, because you can't be right. You're not the market. You're not going to be able to self-correct. You're not going to be able to react to all the different economic factors. And so what ends up happening is you're trying to take all this data, which is backwards looking. You're going to use that backwards looking data to make decisions today about what you think is going to happen in the future. It's an impossible decision for any human to make. Now, put that aside, say that all sounds great, but they're still going to set the interest rate. I tend to be what I call a market observer, right? I'm not going to pontificate on what they should do. I just simply want to understand, what are they going to do? What they should do is completely different, because what they really should do is not have the interest rate. And even if they have an interest rate, then they should probably stop this like volatile management of it. But what are they going to do? At the start of the year, it was pretty obvious to a lot of people, hey, they're going to cut. But what changed was they got a bunch of economic data that said, wait a second, maybe we shouldn't cut. And so one of the things that investors tend to do that I talk with is they get very rigid in their thinking around interest rates. They say, okay, interest rates are 5.5%. They're going to cut 7 times this year, 6 times, 5 times, 3 times, whatever. And they go into the year. By March, 90 days, it was obvious they were not going to cut 7 times, right? Or 6 times. And so when you look at that, you have to ask yourself, are you willing to change your mind? How quickly can you update your line of thinking? And so just like when you're building a product, you want to have very high iteration speed. In investing, you want a very high iteration speed in your thought process of what's going to happen. And that is all based on how much information can you consume, right? How can you sift through what is high signal, what's not, and then be able to act. And so as of right now, you could pretty much count me as somebody who believes the prediction markets. 1 to 2 cuts. Somehow they'll do a cut before the election. Central bank's supposed to be independent. Somehow we're going to get the cut before the election. I actually don't think it's going to matter that much. Right now we're at 5.5%, interest rates 5.75%, and you have QQQ all-time highs, right? You have S&P ripping. You have Bitcoin near all-time highs. With high interest rates, you're supposed to have asset prices crashing. What's going on, right? I saw a study recently that showed it is better to buy the stock index. They measured the S&P. It's better to buy it at the all-time high than any other day, because momentum is real. So when it hits a new all-time high, right? The last time it hit a new all-time high, if you would have bought it, it kept going up and it hit a new all-time high, right? And then the further you go out, the more likely it is that it appreciated. So if you measure 3, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 3 years is actually the biggest gap. So if you buy at an all-time high and then you wait a period of time, it's more likely that the asset has continued to go up. And so like that kind of is counterintuitive. But then also I've seen some statistics that show the housing market during times of recession doesn't really crash as much as people think. And so if you look at these things, you're like, wait a second, the investment class in terms of the citizens, they're going to be just fine. Recession, not recession, high interest rates, low interest rates, like people are getting rich. Stock market's at all-time highs. What are you talking about? The interest rate doesn't matter to them. Where interest rate really, really matters is the people who don't have investments, right? Because the investments are actually immunizing people from inflation and interest rates. But the people who just hold cash are getting decimated right now. There's estimates out there that inflation over the last 4 years has been somewhere close to 40%. Right? There's been a 40% expansion in the money supply. So if you look at that, you say, wait a second, you mean to tell me that if I had $1 at the beginning of 2020, today I got 60 cents worth of purchasing power? That is catastrophic to somebody's financial situation. And so I tend to think that the interest rate will come down. It'll probably come down a little bit this year and into the following years because on a macro basis, they have to. They're addicted to cheap money, right? And central bankers, they can fight things for a short period of time, but the system is stronger. It swallows them up. And I think that we'll end up back, somewhere in kind of the 2%, 2.5%, 1.5% range with interest rates over the next maybe 2-3 years.
It sounds like you take quite a long-term view on things, especially with what you're saying with interest rates. Do you think it's maybe wiser for stock market investors, even crypto investors, to be pretty agnostic about interest rates? Because unless you're day trading, maybe it doesn't matter that much.
Today's episode is brought to you by CrossFi. CrossFi is the Apple Pay for crypto. For the first time in history, anyone with a Web3 wallet like MetaMask can spend crypto through a physical or virtual Visa card anywhere in the world where Visa is accepted. No more exchanges or middlemen. Just link your wallet, get your card, and start spending today. CrossFi card transactions have already been successfully processed in New York, Los Angeles.
Awesome. Actually, speaking of MetaMask, how would you rate MetaMask?
That's a pretty good crypto wallet.
Do you have one?
I do have a MetaMask account, yes.
What do you trade on it?
I just use it for DeFi trading.
DeFi trading. Why don't you explain what DeFi trading is?
Decentralized finances. It's like instead of going to a centralized exchange like Coinbase, you send like Ethereum to the wallet, and then you can connect to a decentralized exchange and trade like Uniswap.
Like Uniswap, but more decentralized.
Yeah, that's just an example.
Yeah, I mean Uniswap at one point was probably one of the best, but it's become manipulated. So you didn't make a MetaMask because of Den.social, did you?
No.
Okay. Cool. How do you to explain to the plebes on how they can get set up on a MetaMask?
Well, usually just go into the add-on section of Google Chrome or Firefox and search up MetaMask, and there you go. Or you can look for the website, and it'll send you to the page directly that you can install it from.
Now, is there a application for your phone to use MetaMask, or is it all browser based?
As far as I remember, it's only browser based.
Because it's easier to stay decentralized, right?
Yeah, actually, there might be a Android store version. Let me look. Hold on.
Some people like to use just their phone.
Yeah,
That's the only reason why I'm asking.
There's a Google Play app for MetaMask, so I always use it on a web browser.
Yeah. The reason I say that some people would use their phone, because we're getting to a day and age where perhaps, maybe, you won't need to have this.
Yeah.
And your phone can be your wallet.
That's true.
Where you can exchange, you can trade, you can exchange, and you can pay utilizing crypto. So, now I also wanted to stop. Let's talk about the interest rates.
Okay, I did look that up
before the. So, what is your perspective on the interest rate saga from last year into now?
Well, it's really a game of politics with interest rates, is because one party wants to, liquidate interest rates in order to, go out and create more ruckus around the world, like Ukraine and Afghanistan. And another party wants to pay the bills and be more responsible with the spending. And it's really a game of tit for tat between the bank and the politician.
So when you're talking about parties, you're not talking about the political parties, right? You're talking about the banks between the bank and, say, Congress, right? Or the government, correct?
Well, I'm talking about political parties, but I mean, it can extend out to other people.
Well, I mean, the only reason I'm having the issue with the political party because one side says that they want to be fiscally responsible, but they do exactly what the other party automatically just does openly.
Yeah,
So,
well, I misunderstood the question. So when I'm talking about being responsible, I'm talking about Jerome Powell, which is the current president of the Federal Reserve.
chairman,
He wants a chairman. Sorry, he
chairman of
wants
the
to
board.
he wants to raise interest rates in order to stabilize the economy, but that means people
Hmm.
are going to lose jobs, and that's
Oh yeah.
politically unexpedient. It's not expedient at
Hmm.
all. Meanwhile,
And
the politicians and the power hungry people in Washington, they're only interested in world domination, basically, but they're doing it very slowly. So that's why they go out and they've been George Bushing it in Afghanistan for 20 years, and
only it's in the middle.
Ukraine
It's still the
recently.
Middle East, but that's why they're
Yeah,
escalating even under the Trump administration. They're back in it on they've solidified their position with Ukraine, and they keep buddying it up with Israel with the Middle Eastern conquest. So if you could if you could say Jerome Powell, surprisingly, is being the more responsible one. Weird.
yeah,
Is that what you're saying? That's weird
that's what I'm
to say that
implying.
the.
Yeah,
That's
because
weird
he's
to
a Wall
say that the.
Street guy
Yeah,
and he
it's
knows
very
how the game
weird.
works.
Yeah, it's very weird to start saying that, but a lot of people don't realize like it's not the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is the symptom. And we just had Aaron Day on, and he discussed this right last Saturday episode for a Legacy Right Live special, and it's not that the Federal Reserve is a symptom, but with the Federal Reserve, the power that is implied through what the Federal Reserve represents allows for Congress to erode your liberty economically and socially, culturally, by utilizing what the Federal Reserve represents and monetizing the debt. And at this rate, we're at a position in time where the Fed has cannibalized itself for so long that it is on its last leg. And Washington is attempting to take back what little bit of power it has of the monetary system through all of its
But
other powers in order to extend their full monopoly. It's a Lincoln Knight takeover. This is what the Lincoln Republicans during the Civil War did. They consolidated and they took over, and the U.S. Treasury literally monopolized and monetized the currency of the dollar. I mean, ever heard of the greenback in monetizing debt directly from the federal government, directly out of the executive branch. There was no bank. Now there was a predecessor to the central bank with the National Bank Act, but the National Bank Act were private firms. And if you really think about it, we're seeing that kind of be relived with the stablecoin apparatus and Tether and BlackRock with equity firms like BlackRock and the big banks, big private banks of Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan Chase jumping into the realm of crypto. And the Federal Reserve is effectively becoming obsolete, not only on its own regime for the last 100 years because it's done, but because the policies enacted no longer need the Fed. You got anything to add on that? Or?
Well, I just thinking, they mismanaged the economy when they first started, and it's just been a
Yeah.
total clusterfuck ever since. So it's no
Well,
surprise that after 100 years of war, they're
mm,
being shown the door. But it's just how they're doing it. They're showing they're showing their colors because we're trying to be responsible. We're trying to be responsible, but
yeah,
after 100 years of
it's too
being
late.
irresponsible, yeah,
Yeah,
day
it's too
late, a
late.
dollar short, as they say.
Well, yeah, 97% devalued.
Hope
I
not.
believe. I think the dollar only has like 3% of its value that it had back in 1913. But I like the fact that you utilize their mismanagement of the economy since their existence in 1913, which is hysterical because through their mismanagement of the economy, through through the guidance of World War One and post World War One and into the mid 1920s, that inevitably led to the 1930s, um, which consolidated political power. Because of that, the mismanagement of the Fed between 1913 and like 1925 inevitably led to Calvin Coolidge libertarians signing the renewal to make the Fed. I forget what the act. What was the act? What was like the Warfare Act? I don't know. Signing the Fed into a permanent standing before the charter was even up. The Fed had a 20-year charter originally, 1933. Would it have probably been renewed in 1933? That remains to be seen. But Calvin Coolidge signed the law or signed the act that made the Federal Reserve permanent in, I believe, 1926. After the Fed it was obvious they were mismanaging the economy monetarily through its own bilingual bylaws and policies.
And that led into FDR coming in, marketing himself like Anthony Pompliano was saying to do one thing and
Yeah.
did a 180 and does the complete exact opposite.
Now, I think the Great Depression the stock market probably inevitably crashes in 1929. I think the government still does under Hoover, same old, with Hoover's New Deals. The New Deal wasn't new under FDR, and tries to manage the crash in their own realm to try to save the economy and make things worse. But because of that, in my personal opinion, if Coolidge doesn't sign in the law in 1926 to save the Fed from being a temporary solution to being more permanent, solidifying its permanence, I honestly do think in 1933 the Fed goes away because of the market crash of 29 and the mismanagement by both the Fed and the federal government. That I really do think the Fed goes away, and I think you have the same scenario that you had with Andrew Jackson in the 1830s, where the charter is vetoed and Congress goes with it, and the Fed just goes away.
I think that would be healthy.
It would have been healthy, and I don't think we get FDR. I honestly do not think we get FDR. Even through the crash of Hoover, I don't think we get FDR. And I don't think we get Hoover reelected either. So I think Hoover still loses his election side, but FDR doesn't get FDR gets primary, as they say.
He was a slippery weasel, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, he was the cousin of Teddy, so
yeah, he knew how the game worked.
Mm-hmm. Teddy Roosevelt. I would actually. I mean, Woodrow Wilson signed the Federal Reserve Act, but Teddy Roosevelt, in my personal opinion, was the father of the Federal Reserve. with Taft in between. That's why they had their little tit for tat. Taft actually was against the banks for the most part. He wanted to go back to a conservative strategy, so the party split. And then we got Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson was just a very easily manipulated feller, progressive from the Northeast, New Jersey. New Jersey.
It's a shit show that time.
It's still New Jersey's still a shit show. All right, well, we've continued long enough. Let's get back in. We got
Yes,
about
sir.
9 minutes. Everybody.
London, Dubai, China, Japan, and over 20 other countries. Be one of the first to get your hands on a CrossFi card and a prize pool of up to $3 million by joining and participating in their testnet today. You can go to xfi.foundation/users. Again, that's xfi.foundation/users. Go check it out today.
An important day is coming for every American with money in the markets, and it'll be here sooner than.
I think interest rates are important around turns in the market, but they're not important during continuations of the trend. What I mean by that is if you go back to November of 2021, something that I didn't get completely right. I wish that I had paid attention more. For those that don't know, in November of 2021, I wrote a letter to outside investors. I said, hey, I'm having a kid. I want to go spend time, doing other stuff. I'm going to return all the outside capital. Part of it was like, I felt like it's like, how do I make money in this environment, right? Every time I go to look at a private company, the starting valuation is 50, 60, $70 million. It's just the math doesn't work, right? So I returned all the outside capital. Now, in hindsight, you're like, wow, literally the month of the top of the market, you gave back the outside capital. You're smart. Well, if I was actually smart, I would have sold all of the assets too. Right. But I didn't do that. So I can't claim that I knew it was top of the market, but I at least felt one part of it, which is, hey, this is getting too hard. Right. Now, why is that important? There are investors. Keith Roboy is a great example. On Twitter, he said, I'm calling the top. And a reporter tweeted at him and said, are you calling explicitly, are you calling the top? And he just responded, yes. He was off by like 12 hours. Wow. Right. Now, how did he do that? If you go and you ask him, he says, because the second they started talking about raising interest rates with seriousness, not like, oh, maybe we should do it like we're going to raise the interest rate. He knew from back in the 2000 tech bubble, when they started to raise the cost of capital, here come the assets they turn over. And so that's exactly what happened is cost of capital went up. They wanted to quote unquote destroy demand was the phrase they kept using. They did a fantastic job of destroying investment demand, but not consumer demand. And where we ended up was a world where we went from cheap money to expensive money, market turns over and we go down. Now, again, that inflection point, that change in the market, interest rates really mattered. Now, did it actually matter when we went from 0 to 5.75%? No, because guess what? Asset prices went down. They came flying right back. And so it's only around the changes that really matter. And you can almost think of it like a regime. We went from a cheap money cut rate regime, right? We went down to 0% with 2 emergency rate cuts in 2020 and kept it suppressed there. But the second that they reversed and they said, hey, we're going to go back the other way. Now we're going to go up. That it matters. And so right now, whether they go from 5.5, 5.75 to 6, 6.25, it doesn't matter, right? What's going to matter is the first time they cut. Yep. And we're already seeing the ECB and a couple others start to cut. And so it's coming. It's just a matter of, is it this next meeting, the meeting after? It's going to be a 25 basis point cut most likely, but that change is where you got to start paying attention.
So how have your conversations from a year ago and maybe conversations today changed around how other investors are positioning?
I think that most investors are pretty risk averse. When you're investing, you have two things. You have to mitigate downside and you got to optimize for upside. And most investors in crypto, how good can it go if it goes well, right? But most other industries, people want to, hey, how do I diversify? How do I protect? How do I, really make sure that I've got that risk mitigation going? And what ends up happening is they're slow to move around those turns, right? Nobody wants to catch the falling knife. But if you go and you actually look at the best investors, they're willing to make those decisions and make those calls at the right time. One of my favorite investing kind of approaches maybe is Stanley Druckenmiller said that one of the lessons he learned from George Soros was buy first, research later, which sounds like GameStop or meme coins or like undisciplined investing. But his point is when you see a data point that tells you something, you should actually go get exposure to it, quickly do your research, and then you can always cut it, right? And yeah, sure, maybe take a little bit of a loss, but what if you're correct and it runs? The thing that counts is not how many times you're right, it's how much money you make when you're right. which is pretty important. And so if you go and you take a look at it recently, for example, Stanley Druckenmiller said that he was watching a speech from Javier Milei, who's down in Argentina. He listened to the speech. He goes, oh my God, this guy is incredible. He's going to turn this country around. And he went on Perplexity, the AI search engine, and he basically typed in, he goes, what are the 5 most liquid ADRs for Argentina? 5 tickers came up and he bought them. And they said, okay, I'm going to go do some research now. Right? That is so counter to how many people invest. What most people want to do is they want to go look at all this data and they want to make sure. It's like, okay, are they actually going to cut rates? I'm going to wait till they cut rates, all this stuff. If you waited till they cut rates, you've missed the entire recovery of the stock market, including new all-time highs. And so you have 2 things that you can do. If you're a young person, you have a long time horizon, get invested, stay invested, and shut up and just let the market do its thing. It's going to go up, it's going to go down, but over a long period of time, they're going to debase the currency, you're going to make money. The only other thing that you can do is if you are going to try to tactically change long versus cash or long and short, et cetera, is you have to be willing to risk mitigate with position sizing. And then you also have to be willing to make calls or make decisions on little information, but understanding, hey, we're going through a regime change. And so when I talk to other investors, frankly, most of them are lagging in performance because they aren't willing to make the big, bold bets, right? We live in a world where Citadel and, many of these firms, they're gathering assets. Why are they gathering assets? Their goal is not to make more return than the market. Citadel wants to make like 10 to 12%, market neutral, as little volatility as possible, and just keep 10 to 12%, 10 to 12%, 10 to 12%. But if you think of the great macro investors over time, what they want to do, they want to make 60%, 70%, 100%, right? It's just 2 different styles of investing.
So all of that said, I think the financial press is usually behind the ball on this stuff. We are reactive to market news and how investors are responding. Where do you see the financial media falling short in their coverage as far as how investors are positioning and how these interest rates are changing the environment for investors?
There's usually 3 things, and this is not just financial media, it's media in general. Sure. It's the people who are writing about an industry, they haven't been in the industry in terms of like a actor. That's good at times because they're sober and they kind of are a third party that can evaluate this stuff. It's bad at times because there's just nothing like the education of sitting in the seat of allocating the capital and really understanding it, right? So there's pros and cons, but that's one piece. The second thing is most people are not going to tell journalists what's actually happening until it's already happened, right? An investor never calls up a journalist and says, hey, watch this, I'm about to buy this stock. Right? What do? They buy the stock and then they tell them, hey, guess what I just bought? Yep. Right? So there's a little bit of like, by the structure of the market and the relationship between the market participants and the media, you get the information later because they want you to get it later. And then the third thing is there's a huge difference in media in general of there's experienced journalists have been around a long time. And then there's a lot of media companies that have gone, they've cut an immense amount of cost. What they had to do is hire much younger people. And so experience is experience, right? Even if you're not the person allocating the capital, if you think of your career, right, you're way more experienced today than you were on day one. Yep. And so just like that compounds over a career. And so if you have a newsroom full of 22-year-olds, how much can they really, kind of drive versus if you have a newsroom full of 35-year-olds? Now, obviously, you want a newsroom full of a couple of different buckets of people, right? You want to kind of have a well-rounded view of things. But I think that is a huge part that no one talks about is what is the market structure? What is the relationship between the market participants and the media? And then also, who are the people writing the stories? And like, how have we, whether we are the media or we as the market, educated them? And so I always joke that like one of the best things that we could do in terms of both sides of the market is the journalists go do a day in the life with the investors and vice versa. Do like instead of like a jersey swap, do like a player swap, right? And just like make a financial investor go sit inside of a newsroom. They'd have a whole different appreciation for everything that goes on in there, right? Vice versa is have the media person go sit inside the trading room, right? Or inside of an investment firm. And it's just all of a sudden you get exposed, right? Yeah. You have some nuance and everyone becomes a little bit easier to work together.
It would definitely make for better conversations, I think, long-term. Something that I thought was interesting when FTX was collapsing, a lot of the media comparisons were to Enron, but then most of the media members writing about it weren't old enough to have reported on Enron. And sort of what you're saying about this lack of experience and maybe the longevity of a reporter's career. Yeah, I think we got a ton of very interesting insights from you today, Pomp, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for doing this. We'll do it again.
Sounds good.
Tesla's stock is crashing. The headlines say Elon's empire is collapsing. But what if
Is Tesla stock collapsing? Or is that just
I don't think that's just a stupid advertisement.
Is it a liberal one?
It could be.
Tesla
But
stock is collapsing, everybody.
I want to comment on what he was talking about. The news media, especially, a channel like that, it's designed to mismanage your emotions in order to throw you so that you lose money.
Like Jim Cramer saying that a certain stock is volatile.
It's on fire. It's going to explode.
What I'm trying to say is like Jim Cramer saying that a certain stock is too volatile to jump into, and on the other end, what is a good investment or talk? I mean, you get what I'm saying. So he plays off of the emotional aspect of what is real, and in reality, everything is perfectly fine because he goes to the extreme. And I'm not saying everything's perfectly fine. Everything's fake, but he plays off your emotion to believe that you need to jump into this or else everything's going to come crashing down. And that's not even the case. Now, everything is going to come crashing down because it's inevitable because your dollar is fake. Now, how do we fix that, everybody? Leave a comment down below.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth.
But I'm asking you as well.
Well, you got to replace the blood in a dying corpse, and that's the whole initial foundational idea of Bitcoin was to replace the blood in a dying corpse, revive the animal, and not enable it to do what it's been doing, but you're going to go to a point where it realizes it has to be autonomous and independent of other parts of the body, and it's breaking up the power.
But instead, what Bitcoin has become is a store of value backed up on the promise of the dollar, and it has become inflationary because its value is based on the inflation that has excruciatingly devalued the dollar. Why is Bitcoin over $100,000? Well, it's not that Bitcoin is that valuable, it's that the dollar is just straight up trash.
Pretty much.
You think
you can't buy anything with silver or gold as legal tender? They say you can, but really, who's going to accept it? That's such a tried and worn out a pitch to a potential market that doesn't even exist. Gold is used on motherboards and computers. Silver, it's a speculative asset because it's not as expensive as gold.
Well, to be fair on that, and it's not really a good thing, but there is a market for a lot of state governments utilizing gold and silver as certain tender for tax purposes.
I can see that. I mean, you see like Utah and Texas saying, "Oh, we're gonna make it as a legal tender, and you can use it, like you said, for taxes." But I mean, how do you make change with silver at a gas station or a Wendy's?
You don't. You can't. They're gonna take. I mean, they're gonna take what is there at the time, which is credit, debit, or cash. But I know Kentucky, I think, has the property you can pay in gold and silver. I think in Kentucky for your property tax, they'll accept it. Missouri is doing the same thing. I think Louisiana, a number of states are doing it. Is it a good thing? Anything that involves the government and taxes is probably not a good thing, people.
It's a criminal thing. Taxes are always
Mm.
criminal. It's levied against you by force, and if you don't do it, then you're going to be sent to jail. And if you resist, you get uninstalled.
Mm. That's scary. Sounds like a mafioso blood oath.
It does.
This is an invitation to Michael Francis. We want to test your brain there, buddy. Also, my family connections would have your ass uninstalled, you little snitch.
Clip it. Send it to the guy.
Why? Because the Chicago Mafia was the true mafia. And the 5 families were all feds in New York. I'm saying it. Clip it. Clip it right now, everybody.
I'll take his word for it.
I can talk a little bit because I don't really have any real connections, obviously. And every one of my family that had connections, they're all gone. They're no longer on this earth. So let's talk about that.
Sure.
I'm just kidding. Let's not talk about that. I don't want the mob is weak, anyways. I will say that. I'm more concerned with the Machiavellianism of the federal government that they're utilizing rather than the mafia, because the mafia lost. The federal government ended up figuring out they used the mafia's game, but with their might and their power of the pen and their power of the propaganda and the power of the legislation to use exactly what the mafia was able to use way back in the day before everything got completely centralized. Thank you to the Italian mafia, to Cosa Nostra, because the federal government is in effect Cosa Nostra.
That's interesting.
Only it's more of a Jewish mafia, and it goes back to Israel and Jeffrey Epstein and Mossad and the CIA, and it's mostly it's a Jewish Bolshevik mafia.
So that's where the communists went.
What, to Israel or the United States? The communists went
Israel.
everywhere, man. Yeah.
I mean,
Considering
even
Zionist.
Putin said that. Even Putin says that a bunch of Russians are in Israel now. So
the Russians are everywhere, man. They're in Cuba. They're in Israel. They're in India.
They're in
go on
Gatlinburg,
vacation.
Tennessee.
Are they really? What are they doing in
Yes.
Gatlinburg?
There's
That's
a small
probably
Russian population in Gatlinburg.
It's probably the Russian mafia.
Could be.
It's probably not. It's probably not Spetsnaz or old ex-KGB. It's probably just straight up the Russian mafia.
Right.
I'm more concerned with the Russian mafia than the Italian mafia at this point. The Italian mafia was neutered. So, but I think that's we've gone over an hour for Crypto Wednesday. Standing alone, everybody.
Fuck.
You upset there, buddy? Does that make
No.
you upset?
No.
To go over an hour?
I was just in the business we call foreshadowing. There's this guy who keeps coming to my house, wants to go party.
Oh, does he?
Yeah. But we're not that kind of YouTubing anymore.
Somebody's knocking at the door, man.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, I shouldn't have said anything about the mob. Let me go check.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody here. There's nobody here.
Oh, yeah? Why do you go?
Bitcoin
Bitcoin, baby.
Hey, yeah, this is Bitcoin. I'm back. The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch. Flossing fast cars and rolling with my clique. The king of the rap shit, the real OG. Whack ass rappers got nothing on me. Bought another Lambo, 3 hoes inside it, 10 hoes in line, ready to ride it. It's Bitcoin, bitch. Keep the track bumping. Really on the plug. I got pies in the oven. 80 years old, and your baby mama fond of me. All she wanna do is smoke my broccoli. Private jets from Rome to Ibiza. Lisa, Jenny, Julie, and Maria. Every day I gotta give thanks. I got Bitcoins in the bank. Bitcoin, baby. I'm back in this bitch.
Bitcoin, baby. Oh.
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Bitcoin, baby.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch. Axe your grandmother. Verse 2, coming with the gin and the juice. Call me a dragon. Spit flame in the boot. I'm hot, like a thermos full of coffee. So hot, can't get the hose off me. It's true, I got the weed card and shit. I'm smoking like a motherfucking chimney, kid. Bitches love me, my shit's never whack. Tell these motherfuckers Bitcoin's back.
Bitcoin, baby.
I'm a bad motherfucker.
Hot like hot coffee. Oh.
Axe your grandmother.
Surprise, motherfucker.
The king of the rap shit. I'm back in this bitch.